Hey guys, alright, overall, The Bad Batch I thought was good Star Wars. You know how that term gets tossed around a lot nowadays? So what constitutes good Star Wars from bad Star Wars? Obviously everyone has their own opinion, which is totally fine, but if there's one thing I've learned in my time making Star Wars videos, it's that people associate Star Wars with one important central theme: nostalgia. Star Wars that builds new narratives, introduces new characters, but also makes reference to George Lucas's idea of Star Wars, is what constitutes good Star Wars. The prequels, I think, have always felt so George Lucas. He's telling a story, he's building characters, he's writing clunky dialogue.
Here everything is soft and smooth.
But he's also doing so much world building, and half the time you're not even aware of it. And The Bad Batch had moments that fulfilled this. It's an important time in the Star Wars universe. Just after Order 66, we're yet to see the Republic become the Empire. There's still so much space within those 30 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope left to fill. There's so much we haven't seen, and The Bad Batch has been nailing this so far, with one location in particular, Kamino. Unfortunately though, in between the Kamino scenes, there was a lot of stuff where it was like, all right, come on now, you know, let's move this thing along, let's go. A little few pacing issues and a little, let's go with a lot of filler, which I'm sure you guys have also been aware of. We don't need to see all of the random ragtag adventures these guys go on, especially because a lot of them don't even build character. It's not like they're developing other parts of the story, as we've seen in The Mandalorian, like the episode with those giant spiders. That was like one of my favorite episodes just because how much we see his character evolve. But for this show, we want more Republic commandos, more clones killing clones, a clone uprising. What's Rex up to? Where's Boba Fett during this time? What are they cloning? Why does Hunter literally never take off his headband? Dude, like he's literally wearing it all the time, even when he gets his chip removed. So this is my review of The Bad Batch Season 1. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Episode 1 sets the series off with a bang. 75 glorious minutes of Order 66 and what happens immediately after. Lucasfilm have been laying down the Order 66 scenes pretty frequently as of late. There was Jedi Fallen Order with Cal's perspective. We got Clone Wars Season 7 with Ahsoka and Rex. And The Bad Batch with Kanan Jarrus and Clone Force 99. Honestly, I don't think they needed to include Kanan. I mean, it feels like they're taking every opportunity to connect all these stories together. Looks like we'll be getting more of that in Season 2 with cloning as well. We'll get to that in a bit. But this episode was great. We see the clones following the orders of the Empire, the confusion this causes, and that one of their own turns, Crosshair. That's the initial conflict that sparks my interest, the fact they're losing their brother to the Empire. So will he return to them? Will he wake up and realize? Will their chips wear off? It gets you in. Also, Omega's character, really glad she's just not some useless kid. She's basically in charge by the end of the series. Runs this show. Okay, episode 2, loved it. Remember what I said about nostalgia? They brought back a dude from season 2 of the Clone Wars who was literally only in one episode, and who's a bit of an anomaly. Cut Lawquane, the deserter. What a great idea to have the boys go for a visit and see possibly one of the only clones who did not execute Order 66. Hunter goes undercover, takes off his gear, but, you know, keeps the headband with the Bad Batch insignia. Like, they're not going to notice. Come on. He looks like a clone as well. He's literally wearing the logo, their squad logo. And we also see the beginning of the Empire's chain code program, which will allow them to keep track of every living creature in the galaxy. And it's really setting up for some dark themes, isn't it? Episode 3 was all about the Bad Batch's replacements. Ah yes, so they're introducing the transition from clones to stormtroopers. These special ops soldiers are the first stage of that, and that's what we were hoping to see in the show, how the Republic became the Empire, how the clone army became the stormtroopers. We also get properly introduced to Rampart, who is a huge advocate for conscripted soldiers. And this guy here, the soldier dude, he also makes a case for the Empire in favor of the Republic.
With the Empire, I get paid, I get fed, and I have a roof over my head. That's more than the Republic ever did for me.
So already we're starting to see some different perspectives. We're seeing the evil tyrannical empire take over led by the Emperor. We're also seeing some people happy with that, and they're giving us reasons to understand why the Empire grew in power and why so many citizens throughout the galaxy were happy that the Empire had taken over. So far, really engaging stuff. All right, next episode is number 4. The boys head to Pantora. And this is when it feels like the Bad Batch are truly on their own. They're out of fuel, out of food, and need to stock up and lie low for a while they they figure out how to survive and avoid the Empire. And we start to learn that Omega is valuable, extremely valuable. She's being hunted by Fennec Shand. So again, these shows are tying into one another. You know, she was in The Mandalorian, now she's here. But what they're doing in this episode is setting the stakes. Omega is in danger. She's valuable for some unknown reason as of yet, and the Bad Batch need to save her. All right, so far so good, enjoying the show, and good plot progression when going places. But episode 5 is where things started to get a little dry. The Bad Batch become bounty hunters / mercenaries, which is when they also become a little aimless, directionless. From this point forward, they're basically just working for money to stay alive, and they don't really have a higher purpose apart from protecting one another. And over the next few episodes, it's implied they perform dozens of missions for Sid. Honestly though, I thought the coolest thing about this episode was Sid's office. Clone Trooper and Mando helmet, the Weestar 34 blaster pistols used by Django. Oh, and we see Omega rescue the Bad Batch even though they told her to just stay in the ship. So we get another indication of her bravery. Now, this was the part of the series where I was like, where are we going next? Been a few episodes since we've seen Kamino, and the show is becoming more like a random adventure every week rather than this is how the Empire began. And I want to see more of the latter. Now, while making this video and going back and watching parts of each episode, episode 6 is one I completely forgot existed, which means it was very forgettable. And guess who was involved? Oh, why did they bring them back? The Martez sisters, Rafa Nadal and Trace. If only it was actually Rafael Nadal, because then this episode might have actually been interesting. Seriously. The Clone Wars Season 7 Martez Sisters arc might be the most unrewatchable arc of the Clone Wars. I don't want to go back and rewatch it. Please don't make me. The Bad Batch head to Corellia, tasked with retrieving the head of a separatist tactical droid. And the only interesting thing I think happens is the ending with the hologram. Everyone's speculating this is Bail Organa or Maul, but nope, it's just Rex in a cloak. All right, here we go. Back to some actual action. Episode 7, the boys meet up with Rex and head to Bracca from Jedi Fallen Order. Good old Calamity Kestis hiding somewhere under all this scrap. He's here, and this episode has some real tension. It was possibly the peak of the series because it's all about getting their inhibitor chips removed. Wreck has been getting the headaches, about to go crazy and eat everyone, execute Order 66 and please his appetite, and Rex is desperate to remove all their inhibitor chips. Love the tension in this one, the pacing, the fear. You don't want Wrecker as your enemy, he'll mess you up. Okay, so eventually they contain the situation and get all their chips removed, and Hunter doesn't even take off his headband. Just leave it on. No, Aaron, no, do the surgery, do the operation. I'll leave the headband on. Don't you dare touch my hair. And then it's also clear that Rex is up to something behind the scenes. And if I were to guess what that is, he's forming a clone rebellion. Okay, so good plot progression in this episode and some decent character development. All right, same goes for episode 8. Now that the boys are all inhibitor chip free, they can no longer become the enemy of one another. But their brainwashed brother is on his way to hunt them down. And for the first time since episode 1, they're reunited. And Crosshair gets burned bad as well, but seriously, the Bad Batch should have all died here. They were all inside the engine and it fell like hundreds of meters. Dude, how are they still alive? Seems to be no fall damage in this universe. Oh, and then damn, dude, it's Cat Bane. He's still alive, obviously. And Hunter has another face-off and gets shot. But he is still alive, and then we get some Republic Commando vibes. With the visor, there's that nostalgia hitting hard again, but Omega's been taken. And next, we see something we've never seen before, another Kaminoan cloning facility that's not on Kamino. I loved the introduction of this, love that we're seeing this kind of dark location that immediately plants a bunch of new ideas in our head. What are these strange Kaminoan cloning experiments? What else were they up to? Are there more facilities? What else are they doing? There seems to be so much going on behind the scenes, and that's that world building I was referring to earlier. But apart from that, this whole episode was basically Omega escapes and is rescued, Cad Bane is getting a little old, and Fennec knows how to handle herself. Okay, episode 10. Now, apart from the intro on Raxus with the separatist senator standing up to the Empire, I found this one to be really boring. Oh my gosh. The pacing was super slow, Omega gets left behind with Sid, and all her scenes are pretty pointless apart from us learning that, hey, she's great at space chess. Oh my gosh. How exciting! Ugh. And we see more of the clone empire in action. I mean, I guess they were helping the separatists, which is pretty interesting considering they spent the entire Clone Wars fighting against them, but still, very slow-paced episode. Okay, episode 11. I'm going to go ahead and say this was my favorite episode of the series, which might actually be a little controversial because it's the only one in which Omega and the Bad Batch are background characters. They're not the focus. I loved the politics in this episode, the tension. The clone army are still on Ryloth after liberating it from the droids during the Clone Wars, and now they're taking control of the planet under the newly formed Empire. There's so much tension, and we see a different perspective on how the end of the Clone Wars is impacting just, normal everyday people, this world. The episode is focused on Hera Syndulla and her family realizing the clones are here to stay and take Ryloth's freedom, which is subject matter that's deeply rooted in the Clone Wars, going all the way back to Season 1 when the Jedi and clones arrived to save Ryloth. Cham Syndulla even discusses this with Windu as a precursor to everything that happens in this episode, saying,
"Another armed occupation is not a free Ryloth. How long before I am fighting you, Master Jedi?"
What a throwback. There's that nostalgia again. But the best part of this episode, we got to meet this guy, Captain Hauser, clone with the freshest haircut. Mwah! And his situation in all this is super interesting. He's a clone with an inhibitor chip, but he's also on the side of the Syndullas because he can kind of see what the Empire's up to is affecting them negatively. And they're not, going against the will of the Empire. They're just trying to live normal lives. They fought together, they're friends, and they have that connection. And the effects of his inhibitor chip seem to be wearing off. Super interesting. Does that mean other clones are also experiencing this? Does that mean they're capable of logic and reason even after the chip has been activated? Now, episode 13 was probably my least favorite of the series. Complete filler. What are we doing here? Developing Sid's character? Come on, guys. And meeting this Roland Durand guy, who I'm assuming they're setting up for next season or a future episode or something. It feels strange they'd introduce someone like this to only have him show up just once, but yeah, not much to say about this one. I guess Ruby's kind of cute. Now, the episode titled War Mantle is what we want this series to be all about. This one really fulfilled my expectations. Operation War Mantle itself is the Empire's project of transitioning from clones to stormtroopers. And we see all the clones being removed from Kamino. This operation is being shut down. They're shutting down the planet. And then we go to this Imperial facility on Daro, where clone commandos, namely Scorch from Republic Commando, how amazing is this? Talk about nostalgia, are training the first batch of TK troopers. The Bad Batch rescue Gregor, so the writers are filling in the gaps of how Rex and the gang get to Star Wars Rebels, which I'm cool with. I want to see that. I want to see, Filoni's characters kind of get there and how it evolves from here to here. Also, the corridors of this facility look really similar to the Death Star interior, intentionally, and there's a lot of work put into the sound design to give us a sense of familiarity, and I really like that. Again, really hitting heavy on the nostalgia, bringing in longtime fans. So the Bad Batch rescue Gregor, who's, let's be honest, a little loopy. Those evil laughs. But they can't all evacuate in time, and Hunter falls to his death. Bang, 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 he's dead! Well, he should have died considering how far he fell. He's detained, as are Lama Su and Nala Se. The Kaminoans' contingency plan has failed, it seems, and their fate is yet to be determined. Although it's also very possible Lama Su was killed, so there's that. Next is the biggest cliffhanger of the series, part 1 of the finale, Return to Kamino. Even though Hunter said he'd make sure Omega never had to go back there ever again, here she is. Now, Hunter and Crosshair spent a lot of this episode exchanging ideologies, fighting, arguing like brothers. Meanwhile, the other boys learn where they were born, that Omega is older than all of them, and then they attempt to rescue Hunter. I love the conflict in this episode, and we finally learn of Crosshair's true intentions. He claims to have had his inhibitor chip removed, and therefore it's all him. He opposes the Bad Batch because he truly believes in the Empire. The Empire gives him purpose as a soldier, which is what he was born to be, and he feels his old gang have just been aimlessly wandering the galaxy, bringing a poor kid along for one heck of a dangerous ride. And that is kind of what they'd be doing, and that's kind of part of my issue with it as well. There's no purpose for the Bad Batch, it seems, at this point. I mean, apart from getting their brother back, it's not like they're, forming a rebellion. They just have been going job to job, trying to stay alive and eat. Now, we still don't know if Crosshair is telling the truth about his chip, if he did indeed get his chip removed, or if there's something else going on here. It's compelling. He gives his brothers a chance. He wants them to be all together again. He misses his brothers, but only if they join him and do it his way, which of course they don't. But then possibly the most messed up thing in the entire series, the clones themselves destroy Kamino. This marks the end of an era and the end of the Clone Wars, final and resounding. And man, some of the attention to detail in this episode, like the throwback to the Kamino theme from Attack of the Clones when Obi-Wan arrives for the first time. Really rewarding for longtime fans hearing this, taking me all the way back to 2002 with a couple bars of music. And this episode ends on the cliffhanger. The Bad Batch are still inside when all hell breaks loose. So, will they survive? Will Kamino be completely destroyed? What happens next? Now, I've seen a lot of people say the same thing. Season 1 should have ended right here. Because the final episode is basically just they escape. And that's one thing I think Season 1 dropped the ball on. It was great at building these suspenseful moments when you weren't sure what was going to happen and who would survive, but the resolution was always a little underwhelming, like this final episode. Perfect example. They fly off without Crosshair because he doesn't want to go with them. He's all broody and teenage-like, and that's where we're at. Also, this platform is definitely going to descend back into the sea after their ship takes off, because it only activates when there's a ship on top, so Crosshair is probably going to drown. Overall, I would have liked to see more consequences. I would have liked to see more emotion. For example, Echo was completely skipped in this final episode. After everything he's been through, you're not going to show me his reaction to seeing Kamino destroyed? This dude's a veteran, been around since season 1. Gets like 2 lines. That said though, I really did enjoy season 1. Sure, it was a bit slow at times and there was a bit too much filler for my liking, but really interested to see where the story goes. I love all the cloning stuff and can't wait to see that storyline evolve. And man, we just take a second to appreciate the show's sound design. Honestly, the best part of the show. So many throwbacks and Star Wars references. Dude, they put in the menu sound effects from Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Come on. I'd love to know how you rate Season 1. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And what do you think we'll see happen in Season 2? And for more Bad Batch and Star Wars, you can watch one of these videos here and come follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and join my Discord for lots more Star Wars gaming, news, updates, and everything else. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.
Stay bombastic.